There are numerous photos of him laughing, among friends, at state functions, and even on the road interacting with citizens. Not the former president, just Uhuru. And in these photos, you get a glimpse of the man behind the office. Easygoing, warm, and guarded. It is an image many have missed. Uhuru Kenyatta was born on 26 October 1961 into one of Kenya's most consequential families. His birth, coming shortly after his father's release from prison, was a moment heavy with hope and expectation. As the son of Kenya's first president, his name, Uhuru, meaning freedom, was an ode to his father's newly found liberty and the nation's own independence, which was soon to follow. From early on, his life was a delicate balancing act between personal freedom and public expectation. While most boys his age played and chased the simplicity of childhood, Uhuru spent his formative years learning the ropes of politics. He would accompany his father to state functions and high-level meetings. Here, he would learn the rhythms of power, even if he did not fully understand the weight it carried. When Jomo Kenyatta was indisposed, Daniel Arap Moi often stepped in as a mentor and surrogate father, guiding the young Muigai through public protocol and the quiet responsibilities of legacy. These twin influences, one born of blood, the other of circumstance, would shape him into a man capable of navigating the corridors of politics with both ease and discretion. At the age of 17, Uhuru was called to confront the enormity of his family's place in history. Shortly after his father's passing, he eulogized his father as he was laid to rest. Even in that early trial, the boy who had grown up in the shadow of a president began to forge his own path, balancing personal grief with the beginnings of public responsibility. To those who knew him in his youth, politics seemed far from his mind. He laughed easily, joked with friends, and relished the normalcy of youth. He partied, he drank, he played sports. His education, first at St. Mary's School in Nairobi and later at Amherst College in the United States, further shaped him, providing not just academic rigor, but a broader perspective on leadership, governance, and civic responsibility. These years, balancing discipline and discovery, quietly laid the foundation for political life that would soon demand both resilience and vision. That foundation became visible in 1997, when Uhuru took his first real step into elective politics. It was here, in the hum of local politics, away from the grandeur of State House, he began to hone his leadership style, accessible, pragmatic, and quietly strategic. He learned to listen, to read the room, to build consensus. Within a short time, he was appointed chairman of the Kenya Tourism Board, then elevated to Minister for Tourism and Wildlife. These roles marked his steady rise and revealed his ability to navigate both the political and administrative worlds. By 2002, destiny began to demand its due. President Moi picked him as his preferred successor, a decision that both elevated his profile and stirred resentment among the older guard. Figures like Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Simeon Nyachai, who had long imagined themselves as heirs apparent to Moi's crown, were left out in the cold, and eventually some of them left KANU for the National Alliance Rainbow Coalition, NAC. While many thought Uhuru would win thanks to Moi's backing, the electorate had other plans. Uhuru lost to the NAC candidate, Mwai Kibaki. It was a humbling moment, but it also revealed a characteristic that would come to define his career: resilience in the face of defeat. Uhuru Kenyatta considered gracefully, accepted his role as leader of the opposition, and began to carefully reconstruct his influence, alliances, and political credibility. In the years that followed, Uhuru's rise was steady, deliberate, and unmistakably human. After serving as leader of the official opposition following Kanu's 2002 defeat, he surprised many by throwing his support behind President Mwai Kibaki in the disputed 2007 election. When the violence that followed forced Kibaki and Raila Odinga into a power-sharing agreement, Uhuru joined the Grand Coalition government as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade. Later, he would take on the finance docket, managing Kenya's economy amid political instability, a global recession, and public skepticism. Yet those years tempered him, sharpening both his administrative competence and his political instincts. Then came the storm. The 2007-2008 post-election violence cases at the International Criminal Court. Uhuru, alongside William Ruto, was indicted on charges of crimes against humanity. The two men, once on opposing sides of that same election, found in shared adversity a strange brotherhood. Their public unity turned a legal battle into a political movement. Out of that crucible was born the Jubilee Alliance. Uhuru's the National Alliance and Ruto's United Republican Party merged to form Jubilee, a coalition that promised generational change and national healing. Together, they defied expectation, winning the 2013 election and securing re-election in 2017. The Uhuru-Ruto bromance became both symbol and slogan: youth, unity, and pragmatism over old guard politics. Yet, beneath the laughter and matching shirts, theirs was always a strategic alliance. Strong enough to win power, but fragile enough to fracture once the crown was secure. Earlier, during the 2010 constitutional referendum, their paths had diverged. Uhuru, standing with Kibaki and Raila, campaigned for the yes side, backing the new constitution. Ruto, by contrast, led the no camp, citing fears over land and devolution clauses. It was a foreshadowing of their later split, a reminder that convenience, not conviction, had bound them together. When the 2022 elections approached, that uneasy alliance finally collapsed. Uhuru turned away from his deputy and endorsed Raila Odinga, urging Kenyans not to be swayed by Ruto's charm or promises. His tone was measured, almost weary. In several public appearances, he warned that the man he once stood beside could not be trusted. Many dismissed his word as political theatre, but by 2024 and even into 2025, as protests gripped the country, young people filling the streets to decry corruption, taxes, and police excesses, those words took on a haunting prescience. It was as though the man once derided for his silence had finally found his voice, and that voice had carried a warning too heavy to ignore. Once again, the former president has returned to the public limelight, not campaigning, not negotiating, but cautioning, urging, pleading, and pointing out what is at risk. He has sought to remind Kenyans again that democratic gains are fragile, imploring them not to let these hard-fought gains be easily reversed. Earlier this year, he addressed the youth directly, charging them to be vigilant and steadfast in their defense of our freedoms because no one is coming to save us. With Raila Odinga gone, could Uhuru assume a new mantle as the moral conscience of a country at a crossroads? What do we risk by failing to heed his call? Entitlement? Weakening institutions? Democracy, hollowed out by slogans and short-term gains? Perhaps his insight comes from having scaled the summit of Kenya's politics. A friendly nudge from a senior statesman, asking us to look past the applause and the showmanship, to see the foundations themselves. History, he reminds us, has a way of repeating itself when warnings go unheeded. Away from the intrigues of politics, Uhuru remains a man of the people, charismatic, approachable, and largely devoid of scandal. Even from his critics, he has earned a degree of affection. His humor, warmth, and capacity to connect transcended the office he held. On occasion, His presence has even overshadowed that of the current president, a subtle testament to the enduring charm and authority he carries. One not held as a mandate of office, but as a force of personality and presence. And now, even as he continues to speak with the foresight that has come to define him, we are reminded that he too is human. Earlier this year, he revealed to the nation his battle with cancer.
And especially for me, don't know whether I should say this, but these are realities of life. In the last year, and a good part of this year, whenever we met, he was very encouraging about some of the challenges that we were going through. And since he had more experience than some of us, he was very encouraging in guiding and telling you how to look at this and how to handle some of these challenges in life, health and otherwise. And I'll miss that counsel, and I'll appreciate everything he guided some of us.
And we hope for the man, for the conscience, for the rare clarity he brings in times of uncertainty. May he recover swiftly, and may he continue to lend his voice, his wisdom, and his watchful eye to a country still learning how to heed the warnings of those who have walked before us.